Aren't you thankful for Pastor Terry? What a guy. Well, it's an honor to be here with you. Thanks for having me back. And I last time I came, I brought my father with me, and this time I brought one of my best friends. This is Gary Fowler. Gary is the executive pastor of ministries and multi-site at our church, oversees both of our campuses, and I'll just brag on Gary a little bit, make him uncomfortable. So Gary's background, he was military, worked in Mission Control, North Carolina. After that, went into business, has a business degree, so has helped to turn around. Companies would bring him in to help turn the company around. And so he's done that. He also has worked as an executive pastor at other churches, and for a while oversaw all the church planting in the state of Ohio for the Ohio District, the Ohio Ministry Network. So has a lot of skills, works in consulting different churches, and is just a genius when it comes to systems, getting people unstuck. He's a great question asker. So I would just encourage you to take full advantage of Gary. Just absolute barrage of questions during the bathroom break. All right. So Gary, thanks for being here. And I told Gary at any point as I'm talking, if he wants to interrupt me or interject or anything, I encourage him to do so. Because I know it'll be good. One of the themes that I feel like I hear all the time now with things around entrepreneurship or leadership is just fail early and often, right? Like just sort of break the fear of failure. And actually, I remember, if you guys will think back to the very first meeting that we had when I was here, I had you identify your fears. And I said, hey, what are you afraid of? And I want to say every table had some version of fearing failure. And I was thinking about it. And a few years ago, I took a mission trip to Scotland. And I was in Scotland, and I was staying with a family, and a husband and wife. And the wife was like really into church, really into God, and the husband was kind of reluctantly a part of it. And so I kind of got in his world a little bit. I'm talking to him, and he was a tailor. He made like clothing and things, and they would sell materials and fabrics and things like that. And so anyway, he's telling me the story that he accumulated many traffic tickets and parking violations in Scotland, and didn't pay him off, and eventually ends up being caught and had to go to jail. And so he said, man, it was like I was freaked out. I was terrified. I'm going to jail. It's like my worst nightmare. I'm thinking this is awful. And so he gets into doing this jail time. And while he's there, they find out he's a tailor. And they said, well, we wanted, we need some new uniforms for our policemen. Any chance you'd be willing while you're here to make them? And he's like, well, sure. So they give him the sewing machine and all these materials. And he's like, well, I'm going to need some more of that and some more of that. And so they're bringing him stuff, and he's in there and he's designing, the police uniforms, and he's making them. And he's like, it was quite a pleasant experience. He's like, and so he said he was in there. He's like, it was a blast. He's like, here I am. I'm in my passion. He's like, I'm making these uniforms. But by the time I got done, I had served my time, and they kicked me out. And he's like, I went out, I got another traffic ticket, and I thought, I'm not going to pay it off. He's like, my fear of jail was gone. He's like, it was like I was intimidated by it. Once I actually went, he's like, it was even better in a Scottish accent. I wish I could do it, but he's just like, it was pleasant. It wasn't all that bad. And so, as I think about it, I think one of the things you encourage children, you encourage leaders, man, fail a lot, fail early, fail often. Obviously, we don't want to fail our families. We don't want to fail in terms of our character. But when it comes to trying stuff, fail early and often. And if you do it enough, you're just not afraid of it anymore. You're just kind of used to it. And I think we tend to worry like, man, if I fail, I'm going to lose all this credibility. Our staff's going to think I'm stupid. Our church is never going to follow me again. But I think, man, people have a lot of respect for men and women who aren't afraid to fail. They will step out. They'll admit it when they do. They'll learn from it when they do. Pivot and try something else and keep being resilient and getting back up. So I just want to push you a little bit into no one here has failed yet. And that maybe that's a fail. Maybe we need to say, you know what, there's something we've been sitting on the fence on, whether it's a parking lot we're scared of or a sacred cow that we need to just shoot. in the head, or maybe it's something that we've tried before and failed at, but we just kind of have something in our gut that says we should try it again, we should go for it, that maybe it's just worth giving it a shot. All right, so I'm going to challenge you to push yourself in that way, because at the end of this, we're going to do some action steps, and we're going to go on record, and you're going to go on record at your table for when you come back the next time, what you're going to say. You're going to say you're going to do it, and then you're going to come back and do it. Otherwise, you're a liar. All right. Here we go. We're going to jump into session 9, which is marketing and awareness. All right, marketing and awareness. This probably goes without saying, but I'll go ahead and say it anyway. We're looking at systems, and we're looking at things that work, and we want to be very careful that when you hear the word marketing and we're a church, that we don't kind of blow it off as a business principle, or just this is another way that the church is becoming like a business. I think when I think about awareness and marketing, it's letting people know that the body of Christ is there and what the body of Christ is doing. So let's just take a moment before we get into this. Think about this. When Jesus walked the earth, how did people know he was there? He sent out a mailer. He sent the disciples out ahead. Hey guys, go prepare the way. Let them know I'm coming. All right. What else did he do? How else did they know? People know. John the Baptist was a forerunner. Forerunner, John the Baptist. Okay. Signs and wonders. Okay. That was marketing. I know it sounds crass. Obviously Jesus wasn't trying to commercialize it and get rich, right? Foxes have holes, birds have nests. I don't have a place to lay my head. He wasn't trying to get rich off of it. What was he doing? Spreading the word, because this is really important. People need to know about it. A lot of it was word of mouth. All over the Judean countryside and everywhere, people couldn't shut up about. So what we want to do is, because remember what we are, we're just the body of Jesus, filled with the same Spirit that raised Christ from the dead. That's what our churches are. That's what we are. So in the same way, we want word to spread throughout the Judean countryside about what's happening, and we want to be intentional about how we do this. So I'm going to kind of go through here, session 9. How will they know we're here? Okay, number 1 is know your story. Okay, know your story. The story of your church, the story of why you're here. We want to make sure that we're aware of that we're telling that. I think this is one area where historic churches. I was just, one of my mentors just had a 50th anniversary of their church, 50th birthday. And I went to it, and our church is 7 years old. So I told our team, I said, guys, if we keep our eyes on Jesus and we don't self-destruct, in 43 years, it's going to be us. And so I sat there and watched, and they're on the, they're starting to come onto the back end of the bell curve as a church. They've had a great, incredible stories, incredible fruit that have come off of that church. And yet God is stretching them into new places, and they're dreaming again and praying again. All right, Lord, what's next? And I listened to this pastor who is in the middle of a succession plan, getting ready to retire, stand in front of his church and go back to the very origin and the roots of their church to say, this person, he's naming them by name, this person that helped start the church and this person that helped start the church. They prayed audacious prayers. They walked by faith like no one else. They did innovative things. They got way out of their comfort zone. They took criticism. They put it all on the line. We have to do that again. So what's he doing? He's going back to the story, knowing the story, and even within the church, building that story within the church, linking the past to the future. How about your community? What story does your community tell about your church? What story do you want them to tell about your church? If I was to go to the gas station 5 minutes away and say, Eureka Assembly of God, tell me about it. What are they going to say? What's the story? Oh man, that's a church that does a great kids program. Oh, that's the church that they feed people. Okay, what are they going to say about your church? What's the story? And how can you help to build that reputation? Again, what did they say about Jesus? There were a lot of narratives going around about Jesus, by the way. And some of it was, like you said, signs and wonders. People are going, oh my goodness, if you got someone sick, get them to the house. If the house is full, make a hole in the roof. Why? Because of the story about Jesus. So what's the story? Know your story. Details matter. Timeline matters. Credibility matters. Communicate. Number 2, develop your brand. Okay, develop your brand. And this just gets into some of the aesthetics of, have a cohesive look on your logo, your printed materials. You can solicit outsider feedback. So this is an area that, again, especially if this is a value in your community, you want things that look clean and sharp, in developing consistency across your ministries. And let me tell you something that happened with us. We brought in a marketing professional, it was like right at the end of our first year as a church. And we thought we were doing pretty good. We thought, our graphic design, everything was good and all this stuff. And he came in and he said, all right, guys, who's your target audience? We said 25 to 35-year-old young professionals with kids who are disconnected from the church. He said, too broad. I was like, what? We thought we nailed it. Like, what? He goes, too broad. He's like, when I was 25, I was still living in my parents' basement. When I was 35, I had 3 kids. He's like, it's too broad. He said, when the Chevy markets the Chevy Cruze, they market to 26-year-olds. 26-year-olds, okay? Crazy thing. He tells me that. I'm like, how do you market to a 26-year-old? I'm walking like 2 weeks later. I'm in our parking lot and I see a Chevy Cruze and I see this lady going into it. I say, hey, how old are you? She's like 26. I'm not joking. I was like, wow. Okay. Now, I'm not suggesting, you don't have to go up, blow everything up, kick everybody out. Okay. But I'm giving you a principle that I think is really helpful. When the sharper the tip of the arrow, okay, of your marketing and your target audience, the sharper the tip, the more you're going to penetrate. The wings of the arrow are going to hit people outside of your target, but the more fine of a point that you can have is going to help you to hit that group. So let me give an example. We ended up changing ours a little bit, but let's just say it was 25 to 35-year-old young professionals with kids disconnected from the church. How is that sort of definition going to affect what you do or what you don't do? What sacred cows you kill, which ones you let live, which programs you start, and which ones you don't start? How's that going to affect it? Well, if you were, I'm going to write it down because I don't expect you to remember. If we end up going to 28 to 30, so let's say 28 to 30-year-old young professional with kids disconnected from church. All right, with that, what programs would you start? All right, our children's ministry better be awesome. Okay, otherwise we're not going to hit our target. How would this affect your marketing? So it better not be hard on the website to find out about our kids' ministries. It shouldn't be hidden, right? It should be somewhere early on. Okay. What else? What's another thing? Let's just say for the website. If we want to nail, by the way, not just anybody's kids. Well, we want everybody's kids, but disconnected from church. What do people disconnected from church? What do they need to know about the kids' ministry? Yeah, they don't even trust us yet. They didn't grow up in church. They have no Sunday school experience. Okay, we're suffering in our second campus right now because it's in a movie theater, and we found out from 3 secret shoppers that they'll never come back because the kids. We have our elementaries on one, or our toddlers are on one, and the elementary are the other, and there's 2 theaters in between. And it's just like, it's a visceral reaction. And they're like, this place is kind of dirty. It just smells like, stale popcorn. Okay? Well, they're not insiders. This is new to them. So they don't trust. They don't have any emotional connection. So if it's not clean, they're out. And on our website, how do we show them right there, this thing's safe? What can you do with your marketing to show that we're going to take care of your kids, that they can be safe? How would you do that? Pictures? Wow. So if I'm a disconnected family and my friend just told me, man, this church is great, I think you'd love it, our kids love it, and I go on there and I can click a button that says plan your visit, and I can get on there and I see, oh, everybody's background check. Oh, there's 2 leaders in every room. Oh, here's your policies, and I can see pictures. Okay. All of a sudden the marketing just went, whew. Why? Because now all I did was just define my target. I just put the target on here and you guys start coming up with the marketing. Okay. And we could go on and on and on about young professionals. And when you have 2 professionals in the home, how much time they need have. Well, by the way, how would this affect your preaching topics? If this is your target, what am I going to be preaching about in January and February? This is going to affect all that, which, by the way, affects your marketing. One of the biggest draws to your church is going to be what you're talking about. We're going to be talking about this subject. We're going to be talking about this thing, and being able to sort of package that up in a way people can bring people. They get excited about it. It travels. We're going to be talking about this come this Sunday. Okay, so define who you're trying to reach. Now, I want to be super clear about this, because I'm up here in a, jean jacket, and jeans are too tight for some of y'all, and you're thinking, well, you probably don't love people of all ages. Not true, okay? The wings of the arrow go out here very wide. We're going to love everyone that walks in the door. It's not, we don't go, well, you 28 to 30, young, are you disconnected from this? Get out of here. No, we're not going to do that. We're going to love everyone that comes in. Everything with a pulse gets loved. We love rats and mice and hamsters and possums. We love possums, okay? We love everything that comes to the door. But our marketing, we're going to do this. It's going to affect, again, if you're on social media, how we're going to go about that, what we're going to be talking about, how, even stylistically, what we're going to do. All right, so developing your brand, having a cohesive look. I know this isn't necessarily something that matters to everyone in every community, but I would encourage you to get some professional help with logos and things like that. You can, at a fairly reasonable rate, there's a lot of graphic design help that you can get that will go a long way. Okay? All right, number 3, create a compelling web presence. We started talking about that a little bit. Build with an outsider in mind. Update content regularly, right? So if you go to our website and we have something on there to sign up for baby dedication that was last month, what did we just tell you? We're like asleep at the wheel. And it will make me feel like my kids probably won't be safe in the deal. You guys probably are not on the ball. I mean, it's just a bad look. It's bad marketing. Right, so keeping it updated, new things on there, and I know for some, like the website thing can be overwhelming. There are some. I don't know if you've heard of Clover. There are some template-based websites that you basically can't mess up. And if you can drag and drop pictures in there and change text, they literally will not let you have bad taste. So they only have a handful of fonts. The color combinations have to work together, and they make it very easy for you to do. Again, this low-hanging fruit, you want to put it out there, because before people are ever going to come visit the church, look at these stats. 94% of people mistrust or reject websites based on poor web design. 80% of new visitors head to a church's website before stepping onto its building. Okay? This is just the way it is now. It used to be you needed a really nice building in a prominent location and a great sign and everybody driving by. That's how you get people. Now, the website, social media, it's a new community. It's a new community. And people are going to, just like if your daughter came home and said, I met this new guy and I think he might be the one. What are you going to do? You're checking him out. You're going online. I'm looking at his pictures. I'm looking up everything. I want to know what he thinks about this and that. I'm looking at all his posts. Okay, I'm going back in the archives. I'm going as far back. I'm stalking his rear end to find out what he's all about. Okay, I got news for you. Okay, if you go to buy a house, what are you going to do? Huh? Anybody's first move, if you're going to move to a new community and buy a house, is anyone's first move to call a realtor? Huh? No. You're going to Google and you're typing in Kansas City, Kansas, whatever place you're going, real estate. And you're looking at houses. And then you'll finally call the realtor and say, I want to see this one because it's got 37 pictures. Right? You go house hunting, you're not going to look at any house that doesn't have pictures. Okay? So you got to be where people can go online, check you out, and look and see. So once you define your target, okay, and you don't get too caught up in defining it as specifically as we did. You do whatever you want, but define it. Once you do it, now I got at least something to shoot at. And once I do that, now I decide how are we going to market to those people within the community. All right. Number 4. Build a marketing strategy. Build a marketing strategy. Look, let's not overcomplicate this. You might say, well, we don't have a budget. That's fine. What about an invite strategy? I'll give you one real quick. Hey guys, how many of you here in the church want to see people go from spiritual death to spiritual life? How many of you believe Jesus is the answer, the way, the truth, and the life? Okay, how many of you know this is the body of Christ? Okay, so how many of you have friends that you know need to find Jesus? How many of you have friends that don't think they need to be here, but if they were here, it would change their life? Yeah, all right. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a month and we're going to start praying for people. I want you to write down, we got a card right there, write down 5 names. 5 names, at least 5 names of people that you know that need Jesus. And we're just going to, first thing we're just going to pray for them. We're going to pray. We believe that God wanted them to find Jesus so much, he sent Jesus to the earth to die. That he wants this more than we do. So we're just going to start praying that God would open up a door. And then now the thing is, when God opens the door, here's what we're going to give you to invite them. Okay? To bring them to the body of Jesus. Do an invite card. Something simple. Hey, we're going to do an event at the end of February. And the whole time up, we're going to be praying for these folks. And then at this point, when I ask you to pray for 5, invite 3, bring 1. Doesn't cost you anything. What is it? Strategy. How do we get people inviting people? Here's a question. Why are people not inviting people? That's kind of an ouchy question, but it's a good one. Why are people not inviting people? If you have a church where you have a lot of new believers, you'll be shocked the assumptions that you've made that they don't make. So let me give you an example. I had somebody a little while ago come up to me and say, hey, is it okay if I bring friends to church? I literally had someone ask me that. Is it all right if I got some people I think would really like here. Is it okay if I bring them? Yeah, go ahead. We're cool with that. And you go, like, sometimes it takes you saying it. Again, some know it here, but they don't think about it. How are you going to, tell them, hey, listen, God has given you influence with people I don't even know. It's not my job to run around and win the city for Jesus. We're all given that spirit. Now, you can go out and reach somebody. When's the last time you invited someone to church? When's the last time you shared your faith with someone? Let's go. Come on. This is what God's called us to do. You know what I'm saying? Now, again, this is beyond marketing. This is awareness within the church that everybody owns it, and we create a culture of invite. But if they're not inviting, what's the reason? Is there something here? Man, is it our kids' ministry is a liability? Is it the sermon's too long? Is it the worship leader's tone deaf and people are not going to expose other people to that? Might be. Okay. So we got to find out why they aren't doing it. Okay. On here, there's four bullet points under number 4, which is start early, communicate clearly, use multiple avenues. Okay, so again, it could be everything from invite cards to social media posts, to mailers, to signs that you put out, giving people a reason to invite people. And then number 4 is use social media to create conversations. And this is a good one. Like, sometimes there are certain social media posts you put out and it's just informative. Hey, we've got this coming up on this day. Okay. One great way to use social media that just starts to create more exposure is when you can create a conversation with either a question or something that can get people interfacing, right? So I'll give you one idea. Like let's say one of your core values is community impact. And you say, what's the name of your church? New Beginnings Church. We have a heart to reach this community, and we want to partner with people who do. Let us know, who are the organizations in our city who are having the greatest impact on this city? Who are the organizations in this city? Tag an organization that's making a difference in this city, because we want to honor them. That type of thing. What starts a conversation, gets people tagging, gets people talking. Okay. All right, here's what we're going to do. Oh, I'm sorry, number 5, leverage community events. Okay. So you can plan your own community event, or also you can participate in existing community events. I want to encourage you with this, because last thing we want to do as a church is come in to the community and put the community events out of business. Right? I mean, you can come in and do an egg hunt, which is fine, it's great. Or you can even say, you know what? Maybe instead of us putting on an egg hunt, the community's doing an egg hunt. And so we're going to show up. Yeah, you want to earn credibility and love with the people who hold the keys to the city. Show up at the Chamber of Commerce and say, hey, could you guys use 25 volunteers at the egg hunt? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'll show up and help you guys to do this, instead of trying to put their thing out of business. What is the community doing already? What do they already value? Their parade. How can we show up and serve and be a part of and just leverage what they're already doing? Help the city win. Help the community win. All right. Now, if there's a need that's not being met that you can meet, great. Do it. Put on the event. Meet the need. Awesome. But if they're already doing something, jump in on what they're doing and help them win too.
Can you just talk about that?
Yep. Yeah. So the question was, what's the value of a website versus social media? Some are saying we don't even have a website. So when you think about a website, okay, you're thinking it's kind of like it's kind of like your online presence. It's not something that people are going to intuitively go to like they do social media. So a lot of people have, let me ask a question. How many of you guys are on Facebook? Okay. How many of you guys are on Instagram? How many of you guys are on Twitter? Okay. How many of you have at least 2 social media things that you check about daily? Okay. All right. So you intuitively do that. How many of you have been to your church website this week? Okay. All right. Now, here's the reality. Within your church, okay, about the same percentage of them will be lifting their hand on the social media thing. How many of them you think have been to the church website that week? Not as many, right? They don't intuitively open it and things are there. So as you're wanting to send out messaging, you're wanting to communicate, again, social media strategy is a whole other conversation about how, what are you communicating? So you want to not just promote things, you want to give value. So if everything is, hey, here's us, here we are over here, come do our thing, show up for us, that's not a social media strategy. You're just posting people to death. You got to give value. So when I go and I open it up, man, you just helped me with something I didn't have before. You gave me either some content or whatever. You can use it also to say, what do we value? And we want to promote that. So if you value honor, okay, we're going to honor people who serve. You value serving. Hey, this is Jill. She's been serving in our coffee team for such and such amount of time. Hey, this is so-and-so that does outreach every single week. Okay, those type of things. So you can, that's the kind of thing you can keep in front of people. But as far as your website's something that a new person, somebody's looking for you, they come to town, they're going to Google search, your city and churches. You want to show up in that. And when they go there, they need to be able to get a feel for your church. Does that make sense? Like, you want to keep it up to date. You want to keep updating it, but it's not going to have the high traffic that social media has. In my opinion, I think you want to do both. I think your consistent ongoing effort is in social media because that's just where people are all the time. You're just jumping in the middle of a community that's constantly has traffic, but your website it can be a little more static, but needs to represent who you are really well, because especially new people are going to check it out. And they'll probably check it out once. Might go back to it occasionally to sign up for something, but when they have that first, you need to look at that website as the first impression that a person's going to come to. Yeah, so like Instagram is going to hit younger. It's going to hit your young adults down to even like your high school students. So even like high school, college, young adults are on Facebook a lot less. High school and junior high are on it a lot less because their parents are on it. So they're trying to avoid their parents. So they're on Instagram, and it's just the fast flip. So now we have a larger following on Facebook, so we do a ton on Facebook, but we also we're actually trying to keep building up Instagram because that's the next generation coming up, trying to stay a step ahead. Yeah, that's right. I don't know if you guys heard that. It's like the website's like the curb appeal. It's like the front porch, what you first see, and then the social media is kind of like inside the door. That's exactly right. Like when some people go to the social media, you want them to be able to see, man, this is what it would be like to experience a taste of the the service or what we do, what we care about. So it'd be like to go to a connect group. This is what it'd be like to go on an outreach. Those type of things. Cool. Yep. All right. Let's go to the tables. And there's two questions at the bottom. One is, what opportunities already exist in your community that you could partner with to create awareness for the church? Okay. And number two is, where are you at in your marketing strategy? All right. So maybe what you might want to do is start thinking about like a target audience, or to say, man, what if we already do have sort of a target audience? How can we start to think, what are some ways that we could market, maybe some low-hanging fruit, some places that we could collaborate with to start to get some